Now, Zambia has said that it will not appeal a court ruling that has allowed the family of former President Edgar Lungu to bury him in South Africa. Well, the judge ruled that the Zambian government failed to show that it had a legal right under South African law to override the family's wishes on where and how the former head of state should be buried. In addition, the Zambian government wished to see him laid to rest alongside his predecessors in the special presidential burial ground in the capital, Lusaka. But Lungu's family wanted a private burial after negotiations with the government over the funeral arrangements broke down. But why has it taken so long to put him to rest, and what could happen next? Now, the BBC's Dingidaba, Jonah Buyoya, has been following this story closely. Jonah, thanks for joining us. What do you expect to anticipate could happen next?
Well, at this moment, Wahiga, it might appear that the burial will finally proceed in South Africa. President Edgar Lungu died a year ago in that same country where he was receiving medical treatment. And almost immediately, a dispute erupted between his family and the Zambian government. But the dispute went far beyond just those two parties. Sentiment from within the country was also divided largely between supporters of former President Edgar Lungu and those who support the current administration. Edgar Lungu supporters held him for vast road infrastructure, a key part of his government's development agenda. They also argued that after the former president left office, government arrested his wife and children, forcing him to come back to active politics, resulting in the withdrawal of all his benefits as former president. Well, negotiations between these two parties collapsed in late June 2025, and the family announced plans for a private burial. But those who were not his strong supporters remember him with an administration that was widely accused of corruption and saw the infiltration of violent party cadres who occupied state markets and bus stations. They still argue that he needed to be given a state burial as per the set precedent used with previous deceased Zambian presidents. Well, today, more than a year after his death, South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal has delivered a landmark ruling upholding the family's right to decide on the burial. And they're citing constitutional rights to dignity and family autonomy. The family, whom we reached out to today, told the BBC that they welcome the judgment and that the family will soon notify all concerned parties as to what will follow next. That's what we know about this burial so far, Wahiga.
As always, Jonah, thanks for joining us. And we do actually want to stay with this story because earlier on, I also spoke to Zambia's Attorney General, Mulilo Kabesha, who's been a part of the court proceedings, acting on behalf of the government there. I started by asking him for the Zambian government's reaction to this latest judgment.
We accept the judgment, although we don't agree, but we respect the law. We will accept and obey what the court has directed.
So what next? You say you accept the judgment. Any further steps expected on your end?
Now, from the Zambian government side, we will leave it at that. We know, of course, that we have the right of appeal to the Constitutional Court of South Africa, but we'll leave at that. We'll leave the wishes of the Lungu family to go by what they desire to have.
I mean, I'm curious, Attorney General, for someone who may not have followed this matter closely, why the insistence by the government to oversee this burial when the family clearly had a different perspective on how they wanted it done?
Well, the government was simply following what has been the culture and the practice of Zambia as a country. The first president of this country, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, had died after he had already left being president. And the family wanted him to be buried at his private residence. However, the matter went to court, and the court ruled that it was not a family issue. A former president was a public issue, and that the public interest should override the family interest.
Attorney General, if I can jump in the examples that you've cited, there was no express message from the family that these were their wishes. But in the matter of Edgar Lungu, the family has come out very clearly on this matter, and yet as government, you still proceeded to go contrary to their wishes.
Initially, the family and the government had agreed that the remains of President Lungu should be repatriated to Zambia. The only difference or the only dispute which was there or which could not be agreed, that the current president should not attend the funeral, or specifically they were saying he should not be near the casket. And those are issues which should have been discussed. But initially, honestly speaking, and from what they were discussing, both parties were agreed that President Lungu should be buried in Zambia.
Is it true that your government communicated that President Hakainde Hichilema must be at the burial, despite communication from the family that is not, or those are not the wishes of the deceased?
We had not yet reached that stage, but what I know is that it was not a hard and fast rule or request that the current president should be at the burial site. The only thing which was being discussed was, but if there will be presidents from other countries who might come, then he will just go there and welcome them and greet them. But if the family didn't still want him to participate, it wasn't going to be so.
Attorney General, are you worried about Zambia's image on the continent and beyond? Are you concerned? Are you ashamed that Zambia's name is out there linked with an incident like this?
What I believe and what we believe as Zambians would have loved President Lungu to be buried here in this country. It's not a good thing that he's going to be buried outside his home country.